Good morning. Now, you probably thought that Kong would return and be the one to talk about redeeming the passive man. But as we planned out this series, Kong and I realized that this is something I've experienced as his wife. I've seen things in Kong that I want to share with all of you. Specifically, what is so good about the passive man? What is the redeemable quality? That's what I'm here to talk about. A couple weeks ago, Kong taught us that the sin of a passive man is selfishness. The passive man sits there comfortably, doing his own thing, thinking only of himself. I've put it into an equation. A man plus passiveness equals defensive detachment. The defensive part is you act in a way to protect yourself. The detachment part is disconnecting emotionally and practically so you don't have to be involved. It looks like this. Well, you're so mean to me, I'm just going to go and do my own thing. It's defensive because you're trying to protect yourself. Passivity means accepting whatever comes your way without objecting, existing without effort, disconnecting emotionally, detaching practically. You protect yourself, you detach, you disengage from your wife or your family. And when your wife or girlfriend experiences your apparent passiveness, she starts to believe that there's nothing of value that you bring to the relationship. But it actually might not be the case. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is. I distinctively remember the day I was reminded of Kong's real strength. It was a couple years ago. At the time, Kong and I had we had a big financial goal, and it was to save for our first cruise, and it was to save for infertility treatment. We were working on the next month's budget, and I told myself, I'm the only one who actually cares about our finances. I was feeling anxious about our future and critical of Kong. I was also dissatisfied and frustrated. I turned to Kong and said, Kong, can you make sure you stay on top of your spending so we can reach our goal? Now, I've thought that statement hundreds of times, and normally I'd keep it to myself. But on that day, I decided to voice my anger and scold Kong. He was hurt because Kong knew what I was really saying. And what I was really saying, what I believed was, if we don't meet our goal, it's your fault. Kong did not stay silent. He looked at me in the eyes and asked, have we ever been short a month since we started saving? Kong stunned me with his question and with the truth. And then he waited for my response. He didn't say a thing after he asked his question. Meanwhile, I was scrambling for words, panicking with no response. Because I knew Kong's point. His question was rhetorical. He already knew the answer. We had ended each month with a surplus. We met our goal every month. We were meeting our goals every month. But I was trying to tell a different story in my mind. I was entertaining my own lonely thoughts. Kong's question halted my internal anxiety and fears, and I came face to face with my true reality, that Kong is my partner, and we have met our goal each month. Thanks, Kong. Every time I'm feeling afraid, worried, and alone, I knew that Kong wouldn't be. I know that Kong wouldn't be. And this time, he called my isolation and my fears out. That day, God opened my eyes. I realized I was the unstable one, and allowing my fears to dictate my words. When I felt accomplished with Kong, I wanted him near. But when I felt discontent with Kong, discontent with my life, I wanted to cut him off. I was a roller coaster, but Kong was steady. It was Kong who held our marriage together, and at that time, our finances together, by being steady in the midst of our stressors. He didn't fret in fear. He didn't fight back. He didn't give up. Kong remained faithful in our marriage and in the partnership of our finances. And not only did we go on our cruise, but last year we paid off all of our credit cards. Kong was sure and secure, but I was unstable. I was the one tearing down our marriage, while Kong was the one holding it together. At the time, I didn't know the value of Kong. He was being patient and steady. But I've seen in my own marriage and over again working with other families that God has created and wired men uniquely to bring stability and steadiness to relationship and in the marriage. Many women tend to have strong emotions, similar to me. One day we can feel hopeful and loving towards our man, and then the next day we can feel sad and discontent towards him. Imagine what would happen if both of you were angry and hurt and didn't feel loving at the same time. Men, however, tend to be more emotionally stable, not fluctuating too much in how they feel about us women. And that's a very important strength. We need someone steady. Men tend to bring that emotional steadiness. What is the opposite of passiveness? Some would think, or at least I would think, it's assertiveness and aggressiveness, right? Be the boss. After doing some reading and some studying, the opposite of passive is actually the word steady. To be steady is calm, constant, not ruled by changing feelings, loyal in attachments. There's a term in the Bible that is very close to steadiness. It's steadfast. Steadfast means dutifully firm, unwavering, loyal, faithful, committed, devoted, dedicated. Loyalty in the face of trouble and difficulty. Steadfastness is most often used to describe God's great love and unswerving commitment to the promise or covenant that he has with his people. Lamentations 3:22 says, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." God's love does not change with circumstances. He remains faithful. Now, guys, you can be honest, but don't raise your hands, okay? How many of you have thought to yourself, I have put up with so much from my wife. I'm loyal when faced with trouble and difficulty. In fact, how many of you have seriously wondered if another man could be as patient as you have been with your strong-willed wife? Right? I mean, I often think about that with Kong when he has to live with me and put up with me and deal with me. Men, some of you may think, I've put up with so much. I've been loyal. I've been patient. But I want you to pause and ask the real question, and here it is. Are you passive or are you steady? Are you passive or are you steady? Passivity turns away. Steadiness turns toward. Passivity detaches. Steadiness engages patiently and gently. If you stayed in the marriage, if you haven't given up, you're already 80% of the way to being steady. Instead of hanging in there while turning away, hang in there and turn towards her. Engage her patiently. Because you're wired to bring steadfastness into the relationship, then turn towards. Earlier, I mentioned that passiveness is defensive engagement. Well, steadiness, it's something different. It's patient engagement. Redeeming passiveness. Now, to redeem means to buy back, to restore, to make something better. Not to throw it away, but to transform it. And so passiveness can be redeemed. And the redeeming of passiveness in a man for husbands is to be patient with your wife rather than being defensive or self-protective. Engage and get deeply involved in the relationship rather than disengaging and leaving it all up to her. Instead of being passive and uninvolved, you can be calm and be the steady partner. 1 Corinthians, Paul writes in chapter 15, verse 58, "Be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain." To be steadfast means not ruled by emotions, not ruled by appearances, relying on what you know is true. In marriage, that means don't relying on just your feelings, but relying on the commitments. Paul adds, be immovable, unshakable, stable, firm. Then he says, always abound in the work of the Lord. That means energetic engagement, diligent effort, not waiting to see what she does first. The passive men sit and wait. Steadfast men move toward. And Paul says, do it always, not just when she's kind or deserving, not just when she responds well, but always. Galatians chapter 6 says, do not grow weary in doing good. You will reap what you sow. Those who live to satisfy the sinful nature reap decay. Those who live to please the Spirit reap life. It is hard to do good when you are not receiving love back. But don't give up. Nice guys do not finish last in God's kingdom because God is just. Your steadfast love is not wasted. Douglas Wilson defines masculinity this way. Masculinity is the glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility. Gladly taking responsibility, sacrificing willingly. That is strength, not weakness, not passivity, but strength. We're going to read 1 Corinthians chapter 13 together, and I'm going to invite us to apply this verse to the steadfast man. The steadfast man is patient when she is demanding, kind when she is harsh, not envious of her success, not proud of his sacrifices, not dishonoring her publicly, not self-seeking, not easily angered, not keeping score. He protects, trusts, hopes, perseveres. He is seated firmly in his commitment. That is strength. Men of God, I want to affirm you. Your steadiness is a gift. Your commitment is powerful. Your refusal to give up brings security to your marriage. Strong-willed women, that's you and me. We may think that we need a man who fights for us. But what we really need is a man who remains steady. Strong-willed women, take another look. Your relationship may still be standing because he was steadfast. Thank him. Honor him. See the strength you once called passivity. Women, wives, I'm going to invite you to pray this prayer with me. It's on the screen. God, thank you for wiring men with steadiness. Thank you for their commitment. Thank you that they do not give up. Help us honor the men in our lives. Bless them abundantly. In Jesus' name, amen. When Kong was going over the passive man, he says that the one quality that helps oppose or remedies selfishness is humility. And so Kong is going to come up and lead a prayer for the men about and in humility.